Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So, Funkhouser, when you leave the house, are you concerned that if you leave the house, on the day of the month that you leave the house, are you concerned that you don't look non-fascist enough?
What does that mean?
It seems like a silly question to be asking anybody, but there is a certain level of concern right now that you have to look non-fascist enough when you leave the house, so you're not mistaken for a fascist / Nazi / KKK member and get punched in the face because you haven't identified yourself as a non-fascist. This is a silly rhetorical question, it would seem, but it's actually a thing. It's something that we now have to concern ourselves with, and we know we have to concern ourselves with it because of what happened at a college in Texas in the not-too-distant past. We'll get into exactly why we apparently have to worry about identifying ourselves as non-fascist when we walk through life and or the streets a little later on. Right now, though, I have an important and burning question for you, Funkhouser.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready?
Both things, okay. Important and burning.
Important and burning. What can the opposite sex do, i.e. females, that you wish you could? Like, what can a woman do that you feel you as a man cannot do and you wish you could?
Oh, there's so many things, man. Okay, pumpkin spice, ordering a pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks with extra caramel in it without getting a weird look.
Do you favor the pumpkin spice beverages?
No, but I can't really order one.
You'd like to be able to order one? Have you ever had anything pumpkin spiced?
Yeah, I like pumpkin. Just the fat is a little too much. I mean, if I was a woman, though, I'd be all over it. It'd be all I drink. Also,
really?
Driving a Kia, I think.
You know, I rented a Kia not so long ago, and it's so funny that you should bring up a Kia specifically.
Hand over your man card right now. Come on.
Well, no, here's the thing. I showed up at the airport, and I reserved a midsize or whatever. Like, I can't remember this. And they're like, okay, here you go. Here are the keys to your Kia. And I was like, gosh. By the way, this is any potential Kia advertising dollars that we might have coming to us flying out the window. But I was like, do you have anything else? And they're like, well, that's the size of car you ordered. Do you want an upgrade? I was like, no, I just want to not drive a Kia. And they're like, really? You don't really get to choose. I was like, what else do you got? They're like, Kia is kind of all we have in the size that we can go smaller. I was like, no, I can't do that. I've got some stuff that I want to carry around. And they're like, well, unless you want to pay more for a larger car, you're driving the Kia, dude. And you don't really have much of a say in the matter. You can't specify make of car when you go to rent one. And I was like, well, maybe you should be able to. And I actually did a double take when I got to the Kia and got in and drove it. I was like, it's just the same as everything else. All cars look and drive the same now. It's fine. Like, it's not so much a car as a price range.
Okay,
but
then. Okay.
No, I'm right there with you though, because I was just like, no, Kia, no. I would I so visibly protested the idea of driving a Kia that the guy behind the counter at the rental place was like, dude, just drive the freaking car already. Just leave. How long are you going to be in this thing for? 2 days? Calm the hell down. No one's taking away your man card. But I felt as though my man card was being taken away thanks to my Kia rental. So you bring up a valid point.
Also, one more thing would be wearing a beautiful flowing sundress without anything underneath. Can't really do that as a dude. Do you, as a dude, often wish that they would call it? If I did, they'd call it a muumuu or the bathrobe. I'm not into that. Yeah, sometimes you feel pretty.
Do you?
Well, I would like to, but I can't.
Is this a comfort thing, is this a comfort thing, or do you just feel a little more swishy on some days?
Have you ever worn a beautiful flowing sundress?
No, but I've looked at girls in beautiful flowing sundresses and often thought to myself, that seems like a more comfortable option than what guys have to choose from when it comes to this kind of weather. But I've never once thought I would like to wear one because I feel pretty. And not that there's anything wrong with that if that's how you felt. But no.
I guess it depends on the pattern.
Apparently, this is a big deal to a lot of women. Men can change their status on Facebook to single, and nobody gives a crap. Like, if a female does this, the shark comes out. She's hit up by every dude on the face of the planet trying to be all smooth. Like, hey, just saying hi. It's been a while. What happened? Everything okay? If you need a friend, I'm here for you. No one's ever done that for me on Facebook. What about you, Funkhouser?
Nope.
Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So if you're just joining us, we're dealing with the weighty political topic of what the opposite sex can do that you wish
So
you
unfair.
could. If there's something that you wish you could do that you feel the opposite sex could do, let me know. At ADSXE is where you can tweet me. You can tweet Funkhouser at FunkFM. You know, I want to be careful how I phrase this, but I know this. I know this from having spoken to the vast majority of my dude friends that are in relationships with women. Women have an easy out with arguments. Like, as a guy, you've been in those fights that just seem to have no chance of ending ever, right, Funkhouser? And you're trying to reason your way out of it, and you just spiral further and further down.
Every day of my life.
All the talking seems to get you nowhere, and it's just not working out. And like you feel like you're saying and doing the reasonable things, and they're just not working. And it's just there's no way you can do anything right when you are getting into it with your significant other of the opposite sex. Guys don't have an easy out. Like, I need a break. Oh, so you're just walking away? It's just not a thing. You can't do it. You're kind of like at the female mercy. They control the dynamic, unless you're a giant scumbag and you're going to be all threatening or whatever. You're like a horrible person. If you're a decent human being, and if there's a way out of this, please feel free to let me know, because I would love to. I'd love to be a little bit more agile in these moments. But if you're a guy, during an argument, you are completely at the mercy of the female. She controls the dynamic of the argument. She decides when it's over and how it's going to end. Women, I think, just because, again, if you're a decent human being, you kind of can't do anything about it. Do you know how I feel like women can end an argument immediately, instantly?
Boobs?
No. Although those don't hurt. No.
Work.
Women can end an argument with tears. Like, have you ever kept arguing with the woman you're with, Funkhouser, even though she's in tears, she's crying?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember if it's happened to me. I guess, yeah, that's when you pump the brakes and you're like, whoa, okay, well, different environment
Okay.
now.
All right, Funkhouser, have you ever been in an argument with a female and you cry? Like, she really hurt your feelings and some tears come out?
Yeah.
Did she stop the moment she saw your tears? Did she stop?
Nuh-uh.
The way you would have stopped if she would have been crying?
Not in this case.
Yeah. See?
And
Women
she
can
was
end an
wearing a
argument.
beautiful flowing sundress.
Fully sundressed, drinking a delicious pumpkin spice latte, and holding all the cards. Women can end an argument with tears. When the guy breaks down and apologizes, the moment he sees the tears. If a guy tries it like Funkhouser tried it, no, not so much. She just kept pounding
Keeps
away.
on sipping on that pumpkin spice.
Yeah. Pounding away on Funkhouser's feelings while sipping on that pumpkin spice latte in her unbelievably comfortable flowing sundress, because she's pulled out the tears before and she knows 9 times out of 10, they don't really mean all that much. It's an incredible and amazing thing that I wish, I don't know. I hate arguing. I hate arguing with females. I hate arguing with people. And there's a reason why I hate arguing. And when I say females, I mean females that I've seen naked. Like, I hate arguing in relationships. I hate arguing personally, just because 9 times out of 10, nothing productive ever comes of it. It's like the ongoing and never-ending political debate. People want to get one over on the other person, but where does that really get you? How much sex have you gotten when you've been right in relationships, Funkhouser? Like, exactly. Being right doesn't get you the things that you want. Getting the other person to go, you're right, I'm wrong, you're smart, I'm stupid, never gets any real kind of result. It doesn't move anything forward. You don't really get that much joy.
You can end a relationship real quick doing argument. That, though.
I suppose you could, and then where are you? I mean, in some cases, out of a healthy thing, but I've just never, ever found arguing to be in any way, shape, or form productive. Spirited debate, respectful, spirited communication where you lay out your cards, absolutely. It's important. It is important. Doesn't matter if you're in a relationship, doesn't matter if you are in a work relationship, doesn't matter if you are talking politics. It's important to know and understand and respect the other person's perspective. And if they don't get yours, well then, it is an okay thing to want to educate them, and hopefully they will do you the courtesy of listening. But arguing, it's this thing that we go back to all the time on this show. The idea of winning just doesn't really exist. That snappy one-upmanship that seems to be the chosen method of communication in 2017 in America and sadly all over the world. The snappy one-upmanship where you feel clever because you got that last poetically justified shot in really does nothing to get you anywhere. If you're in a relationship and you're right, you know what? Guess what? You're not getting what you want out of your relationship. I was right. She was wrong. Ha ha. But now she just doesn't like me very much. And the nether regions have been ignored for the last couple of weeks. Is that what you want to know? You want to get along. You want to be able to respect and tolerate each other's differences. In relationships, you know what's interesting? In relationships, you will fight about the same thing your whole life. 80% of the arguments that you have will never be resolved. You'll be together for your entire lifetime, and 80% of these arguments will never be resolved. So, whether it's in a romantic relationship or with a nation of people that you call your country people, the important thing is not winning. The important thing is how you treat each other throughout your debates. Remember that.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, bring this on. Come on, come on.
So Funkhouser. Funkhouser is, what is it? What kind of name is that? It's German, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You tell everybody it's German for Radio Shack, and that's actually kind of sort of true. Mm-hmm. Right? You're a house of funk.
Yeah.
And so you're of German origin.
The name is. It's adopted, but yeah, okay.
So do you remember when we were interviewing Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Oh, do I? My foot is still in my mouth from that one.
What did you say to him? That kind of.
I said, "That's a nice jacket. I almost wore the same thing." And he goes, "Huh."
This is before the interview had even started. This is while we're getting ready to do the interview thing. Anthony Kiedis was wearing this sort of like long duster coat of the sort that you can only wear when you're a rock star.
I really wasn't making fun of him, but he took it that way.
No. I think Funkhouser made the point that that's the kind of long sweater that only a rock star can get away with wearing. You're pulling that off great. I could never do it. But then Anthony Kiedis wasn't so sure. So we had to spend the first couple of minutes of the interview making Anthony Kiedis feel as though we weren't just going to be making fun of his wardrobe the entire time. But do you remember what he said? Do you remember what he said when we first started talking, where he was just like, I'm picking up a Scandinavian vibe from you? And I'd actually just arrived from Denmark a couple of days before. Do you remember this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my last name, and somebody asked me this the other day. Someone was just like, so where are you from? Sweden or something like that? And I was like, no. No, God, no. But I went to school with a bunch of Scandinavian kids, and they would all walk up to me being like, and I'd be like, no, I'm not Scandinavian. Like, I know half the school is, but I'm not one of them. And they're like, well, you look like you might be. And the thing is, I'm actually English, and this was asked of me the other day. Your last name, what's the deal with that? And how did you even get it? Well, it comes from the Scandinavian part of my heritage, which apparently I have. Did you know how the name Roundtree came to exist, Funkhouser?
I remember. It's a Viking thing, isn't it?
It is a Viking thing. So my family, the English side, I'm half English, that the English side comes from the north of England, York to be specific, which was a place that was settled by Vikings. The last name Roundtree comes from the word rowan tree. A lot of people spell it R-O-U-N-D, but it's actually just shortened from rowan. And a rowan tree was something that Vikings used to plant to claim the land that they just conquered, raped, and pillaged. So while I don't have any sort of like Scandinavian vocabulary to call upon in a pinch, I am descended from a bunch of murderous, raping, pillaging, and conquering Vikings. Apparently, that's where the name Rowan Tree comes from. And you would think, right, that there would be a certain amount of toughness that comes with that. People are like, oh wow, you're a big tough Viking. I'm like, not so much. Have you seen what's happened to Scandinavian folks recently?
Ireland used to get invaded a lot. It's a very easy country to invade. It's quite small and the people are quite friendly. Initially, we don't mind that much. I think my favourite invasion is definitely the Vikings, though, because they came in the 9th and the 10th century and they raped and they pillaged and they wrecked the place. And they're so unlike any Danish or Swedish or Norwegian people I have ever met today. It's like they must have just woken up one morning and gone, hey, let's not rape and pillage anymore. Let's invent a Lego. Let's open IKEA shops around the world. In fact, the original Viking longships came in a flat box. It was about that size.
All right, Funkhouser. We all identify as different things, but apparently we've got to identify as not fascist when we walk out of the house these days for fear of getting punched, especially sort of like a guy like me who is blonde and over a certain amount of feet tall. It's very important that we must identify ourselves as not being fascist for our personal safety. And this sounds like a completely fatuous, ridiculous thing to be saying, but we know this to be true because of a guy who was attacked for not being visibly non-fascist enough at a college campus not so long ago. We'll get into that a little later on. Right now, though, what is going on in the world?
Well, OJ Simpson's lawyer says he's actually going to miss life in prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would think that it would be party times for the juice once the juice was, in fact, on the loose. But no, OJ's lawyer says he's going to miss his life in the joint, which seems ridiculous. But, I mean, you got to bear in mind, on the outside, you can't exactly just walk over your neighbor's place and compare notes on how you killed your wives, can you? So I guess he'll miss out on that little exchange.
He missed the reality show craze. Do you think he's gonna appear on TV in like some sort of reality show? And would you watch it?
I don't think there's a single person on the face of the planet that wouldn't watch the first episode of the OJ Simpson reality show. But then, I don't know. I think you would out of morbid curiosity. Well, here's the thing. OJ Simpson's not allowed to make money. You know, OJ Simpson's not allowed to make money because it all goes to Nicole Brown's family. Like, that's the deal. The one thing that they can't touch is money he makes off of sports memorabilia. So the whole thing is like, how's OJ going to support himself when he gets out? If he makes any money, he's got to fork it over to the Browns. Well, except for they can't touch like money he gets from autographing footballs and things of that nature. So there's that. And I wonder I wonder, like, you wouldn't want to support OJ Simpson making money if he was on a reality show, but at the same time, he's not allowed to make money off of a reality show. All the money would go somewhere else. But it would raise his, I mean, it'll be through the freaking roof, obviously, but it would raise his public persona to a level where I would imagine he could make more money off of that sports memorabilia. So I don't think I would, I don't know, I don't think I would watch. Would you? I mean, the first episode, yes, out of curiosity, but then no.
I would just watch
unless
it was
he's
like not in my area, you know?
If it was like a Simpsons, meet the Simpsons, like I would, if it was this sort of happy and or go lucky take on OJ Simpson, then no, that's not something I would get into. If there was a serious look at who he was, if there was some sort of like psychological intelligent analysis going on, I guess it would very much depend on the type of reality show he was in. You know who was in, like, do you remember the show? Do you remember the show Funkhouser? It was dark, it was gritty, and it was, I thought, possibly the closest thing to reality that a reality TV show had ever gotten. Do you remember Breaking Bonaducci?
Oh,
do you remember
yeah,
the Danny Bonaducci reality show? That was some dark, messed up stuff.
There was a time I worked with him and shared hallways with him, and he brought his pull-up bar to the studio that you put in the doorway, and then you use it to lift in between the breaks. Yeah. Yeah, I watched that front to back, that whole thing, and with his hot redhead wife.
Right. Who he's no longer with, right?
Oh, no. No way.
I do remember him hitting on one of the great, I guess, kind of contradictions of marital or relationship therapy, where he says, Doc, I feel like when we first started out, we were a happy couple that had occasional moments of unhappiness and fighting. Now that we've been in therapy and we've churned all this stuff up, I feel like we're constantly unhappy and fighting, and we have occasional moments of happiness. This is not going in a direction that I find to be productive. But I don't know. I guess maybe they found out, or she found out, this relationship, not for me. So there you go. When you met him in the hallways, when he was just kind of like walking around, easygoing good guy, or
because he was also filming that. It was that time when he was doing it. You know, something also, years later, I met the wife, the ex-wife, and I didn't realize it because she had colored her hair a different color.
It was no longer red. Yeah.
The fire had been put out. She was pleasant, you know?
Yeah. And so you were around the dark, scary version of Danny Bonaducci? And were people scared of him?
I didn't see anyone talking to him. I mean, he brought a pull-up bar to the thing so you can work out during the breaks instead of fraternize with, radio talent. He's just like, I just did 50 pull-ups, bruh. Back to the show.
I guess, whatever.
So, no, he wasn't very friendly at all. Nope.
Oh, interesting. Well, we have the insider take on it. Funkhouser worked with him, and he was not friendly. Interesting stuff.
I mean, neither was I. I wasn't trying to be his friend or anything, so it's two-way street, I guess.
Yeah, he might have said, I worked with that Barry Funkhouser guy once. Not friendly. He didn't once come over to my studio and ask to do pull-ups. Go on.
Not that I could do one anyway.
Oh, really?
At that time.
You think you could do a pull-up now?
Oh, yeah. Why, one. I could probably do one.
Your TRX yoga?
Been working out, man. Check out these guns.
Do you feel better? Like I remember when you started the TRX yoga thing, it was supposed to be like in 4 weeks my body will be transformed. Do you ever feel like
it is? It's transformed. Yeah, I do it twice a week now. It's about an hour long, and I can get through the whole thing, and it's great. Yeah,
look at you go.
Losing weight. Awesome. I don't have a 6-pack yet. I don't even have a 1-pack. I guess I have a jug that's shrinking. But yeah, it's working. I recommend TRX. It's great.
Very good. I'm impressed, Funkhouser. Good for you.
Thank you.
I will continue to waddle and sweat. Actually, you know what's weird? Like, I had 6-pack before I started Middle Management Radio, and then all my workout time went away, and it all went buttery. But like, I still, weirdly enough, have that one sort of like, I've got the top two. Like the top two are fine, and then the rest all goes to hell. Goes to hell in a handbasket, I tell you. But like, I've got still got the top two abs, and I've never figured that one out. Don't know how because haven't done a sit-up, haven't like eaten a healthy meal in about the past 3.5 or 4 years. So I guess that's
they're in there somewhere.
They're in there somewhere,
surrounded by cushion. During a show in New York Friday night, Jay-Z decided to dedicate a song to Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, there you go. And while he performed it, the entire audience took a knee. Oh, gosh. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Like, Colin Kaepernick has something he wants to say. He said it. And now people don't want to hire him, or he's not getting hired. And there's left, right, and center. There are people with... Look, Colin Kaepernick wasn't that great of a football player at the time he started taking the knee. Like, a lot of people said he just wasn't really kind of... And I didn't really pay attention to the San Francisco 49ers, but a lot of people said he just wasn't getting the job done. And his record showed that he wasn't getting the job done. And a lot of people are now saying, hey, there's other quarterbacks being hired that played football significantly more poorly than Colin Kaepernick. So if they can work, if they can get a job in the NFL, why not Colin Kaepernick? And it's just like, is he a mediocre employee that doesn't deserve to be hired? Is he a mediocre employee that comes with a whole bunch of drama? I don't know. But I do know that the whole thing makes me want to pay even less attention to football than I did in the first place. Like the idea of sports being politicized is sort of like, come on. And we deal with this day in, day out on every single cable news channel. It's a constant, never-ending part of the zeitgeist. And Colin Kaepernick absolutely 100 million% has every right to say and do what is on his mind, this being America, a free country with free speech. But there are going to be consequences to his actions. And the consequence to his action with regard to me is like, I don't want to deal with football or the NFL. I don't want to deal with the political fighting. I don't want to deal with political posturing. I don't want to deal with the fact that they actively hire wife beaters and then fire Colin Kaepernick. I don't want to deal with the fact that they're not addressing the issue of head trauma like the NFL. I don't want to deal with the fact that up until 2015, I think it was, the NFL didn't pay taxes.
Whoa, man, whoa.
Oh, my gosh. They were a nonprofit. They didn't have to, like, they were like a church. NFL. No taxes.
Some would say they're the church.
Yeah, well, while people might like to go there Thursday, Monday, and specifically Sunday, I would like it if they paid taxes, which they do now. But could we retroactively get it so they were getting bent over by Uncle Scam like the rest of us since the beginning of time? Thanks. That would make me happier about the NFL, and maybe make me overlook Colin Kaepernick, and I can start watching football again.
AD on the radio.
All right, so I guess we should talk in just a little bit about it being necessary now to identify yourself as non-fascist when you go for a little walk down the street. And we'll do that a little later on. Right now, though, Funkhouser, let's do what remains of the news.
Can you identify yourself as anti-hipster if you look like a hipster? Does it work with all types of things that you might look like?
I don't know. It would seem as though there's all these sort of like wise things that you learn before the age of 5 that apply perfectly well to everyday life. Don't judge a book by its cover, things of that nature. It really serves you. If you're getting ready to prejudge someone because of their appearance, because of their lack of identification as something or another thing that you find offensive or not offensive, if you're getting ready to make a snap judgment about somebody's character or the content of their soul or their heart or any of the above based on anything other than real hard facts and information, then you should probably remember that sage piece of advice that you got before you were 5 years old. Don't judge a book by its cover. Yep. I don't know. It's the manufactured outrage thing that I think people are so horny for in this day and age. Don't understand it. I think there's this idea that if you're angry, it somehow makes you more significant in this world, and people have clung on to that. If you're angry or if you're offended, you somehow mean something more. You're more significant than you were before you got angry or before you got offended. And people should pay you more attention and more mind. So
I know I get more likes on Facebook if I'm offended on things, if I send an angry media thing. If I'm all happy-go-lucky, no one cares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. If you're angry, if you're offended, it seems to be a great way of getting attention, and it seems to be a great way of feeling like you're a more significant part of the puzzle than you were before. So people are just looking for things to be angry about, and it makes absolutely no freaking sense whatsoever to me. I've always chosen to spend my time around folks that weren't angry or offended, not because there's anything wrong with it. And sometimes you have a friend that gets angry or offended, and because you're invested in that friendship or invested in that relationship, or because you love and or care about this person, you're willing to put up with them being angry and offended and go, no, really, I want to know what makes you angry, what makes you offended. But generally speaking, who cares? You're not worth more just because you're angry or offended, no matter what Mark Zuckerberg tells you. All right, what else, Funkhouser?
David Copperfield turned 61 on Saturday.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I thought he was older.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of figured he'd been around for significantly longer than that. I feel like...
Must have started as a teenager or something.
I don't know. He's one of those people, though, that I think probably has looked old since he was young. You know, those faces where it's just like, they look like they're about 50 and they're 25. Mm-hmm. It's very strange. But only 61. I believe that when you turn 61 and you're a magician, you can mark the occasion with a new trick. You can make your bladder control disappear. And in a puff of age, my ability to sleep through the night goes away.
Watch me raise my FICO score. Rapper Doug E. Fresh had a birthday yesterday.
Oh, no kidding. Dougie Fresh. La-di-da-di. We like to party.
Oh, he's that guy?
Well, he's the beatbox behind that guy. But yeah. How is his career going these days? Dougie Fresh. I think Dougie Fresh is now performing at Chuck E. Cheese, so that's about how it's going for. He's an originator and a classic, and I see him on VH1 from time to time. I don't know.
He's older than 61, I would think.
No, really? Let's find out. No. Doug E. Fresh is exactly 10 years younger than David Copperfield. He is 51 years old.
Huh.
There you go. He is one of those guys that's been famous since he was a teenager. Like, he got in to the idea of hip hop and beatboxing when he was just a teen, and well, for that reason, he's been in the public consciousness for a very, very long time. Him and Slick Rick, Lottie-Dottie.
Oh, Slick Rick. Oh, all right.
Ricky, can't you see? I enjoy that kind of rap music. The kind of rap music that tells a story about how your day is going. Hold on.
I remember I was with a ex.
See? Good stuff. And honestly, I think would work great when played by a bunch of animatronic mice and or rats at Chuck E. Cheese.
And if you grab your Adam's apple, you can sing like them.
Go on.
Fox is now airing 6-second ads during NFL games.
We have a name for that in radio.
Blinks.
Except they tend to be adlets.
Oh, adlets. Okay, fine.
Adlets, like is when they play, but like it's such a. But we don't do it like during the middle of. I think that's the plan. Like,
well, they do it in game without dropping.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. The idea is like instead of going to commercial, they're doing 6-second ads.
Like a pop-up
within. Yeah, it's like a pop up. It's like what the hell are you thinking? How much are you really going to communicate? During 6 seconds in the middle of a football game. Drink beer, dry pickups. Pop pills to get erections that you can't get anymore. The end. Oh, well, there we go.
Hey, we did it.
I just answered my own question.
We have a career in advertising.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
A German man got his junk stuck in a weight plate at the gym.
Every single warning sticker comes with a story, an origin story. And I would imagine that when we go to the gym in the not too distant future, there'll be sort of a disclaimer being like, this is not what pumping iron is. We understand how you might have misunderstood. But in the same way a Superman costume can't help you fly, that's not what pumping iron means.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
Funkhouser got all angry the other day about the Emmys.
Oh,
I miss the
still
Emmys.
Angry.
I was, I guess a lot of different people won a lot of different awards.
You're lucky you missed it.
I was the real winner because I was watching Tom Petty instead of watching the Emmys. But Funkhouser was like, they got some guy that had never been an announcer to be the announcer. And I was like, how bad could it have been? And a lot of people like, did you notice the announcer at the Emmys the other night? They tried to do something a little different. Instead of an announcer delivering recorded lines, they had Jermaine Fowler from the show Superior Donuts do them live backstage.
Superior Donuts.
That time-honored classic, that well-loved character, that incredibly easily recognizable actor Jermaine Fowler from the classic hit show Superior Donuts. Never heard of any of these things. Do them live backstage. Sometimes they even showed him on camera, and he had a rough go of it. Some people thought he gave the show energy. Other people, like Funkhouser,
like me,
found it distracting.
Disturbing.
Here he is messing up people's names, terms, and the Facebook link for the Emmys.
This is the 6th Emmy win and 12th nomination for John Lithgow. At the age of 27, John won a Tony Award only 18 days after the Broadway debut. With a total of 231 overall nominations, SNL has more nominated than any other program in any history, except on behalf of the team is Lorne Michaels. For exclusive live behind-the-scenes videos from tonight's show, go to facebook.com/televisionacard. Julie Louis-Dreyfus now holds the record for most Emmys won by a performer in the same role for the same series. This is the first Emmy win and second nomination for Riz Ahmed. He's also known by his hip-hop alias, Riz MC. I'm also known by my hip-hop alias, Jermaine Ahmed.
Come on.
Yeah, that's painful. I mean, there's a reason. You always think like an announcer gets this, like those guys that you hear at football games.
It's a trade. If I'm building a house, I should have some experience building a house, right? Mm-hmm, I'm not coming in off the street saying, yeah, I've seen houses. I can build one.
Yeah. It's interesting. Actors, I'm not trying to take anything away from the ability to be an actor, but I've always, generally speaking, thought of actors as empty vessels. You didn't write it. You didn't create it. You kind of just go and regurgitate somebody else's creation and look good whilst doing it. That's acting. And I don't mean to oversimplify and I'm not saying there isn't a ton of work and sacrifice that goes into all of this, but the idea of actors doing this sort of thing, maybe we're just extra sensitive to it.
It's like eating a raw hamburger.
We see ourselves getting booted out of our broadcasting jobs because actors go, we want to do that, and people just let them. You know who who really can't stand actors? Funkhouser?
Who? Danny Bonaducci? Oh.
No, supermodels. Like back in the day, I guess all the covers of whatever the hell fashion magazine, Vogue, that's a thing, right? What are the other ones? Vogue, Red Book, Good Housekeeping, I don't know. Whatever the hell it is, all these magazines that back in the day that they used to have supermodels on, your Cindy Crawfords, name some other supermodels.
Oh, man. I can't think of them now. There's no
Naomi
such thing,
Campbell.
right?
Well, right. That's the thing. It's such a 90s thing, like an 80s and 90s things. There was Cindy Crawford, there was Naomi Campbell, Kate Moss, she was a supermodel, and so on and so forth. And so they all were the covers of every single magazine, and they used to get paid phenomenal amounts of money to do it. And then magazines went, we could just give this to actors that have movies and TV shows to promote, and they look pretty, and we'll just and so like supermodels were all up in arms about actors being on the cover of magazines. They're like, they're not supermodels. Just because they're on the cover of it doesn't mean they're a supermodel. We're way more genetically superior specimens than they are. Let's not get it twisted. And everybody went, shut up. You're complaining and whining about nothing, which is probably what people are doing to us right now, Funkhouser, as we complain that
I don't know. I think everyone hated it.
Know how to announce. No, everybody hated it. It made national headlines how badly the guy from the classic show Superior Donuts screwed up the
Billboard did
Emmys.
an article saying, like, here's the actor who killed it on the Emmys. I'm like, yeah, well, he did kill it, but not in the way you're saying. So there's some fake news out there about it, but I think the consensus is he was a terrible announcer and probably a mediocre actor, but I'm just judging him on his announcing abilities. It's like eating a raw hamburger.
Bearing all this in mind, I like raw hamburger.
Raw?
It's the second time.
Uncooked?
Well, I mean, steak tartare. You call it what you want. It's still raw beef. Beef carpaccio, the really thin slices, raw. And I think that's absolutely delicious. I would use a different analogy because sometimes raw hamburger can be good, but potato, or hamburger, raw meat.
He was sometimes good, but not a lot.
I think there was a little bit of charm to it.
I still threw up at the end.
There was a little bit of charm to it for some people for a little bit, and then they went, oh, okay, this is now confusing and unsettling. I'm trying to follow what's going on, and the guy screaming all the wrong things in the background isn't making it any easier. That said, Funkhouser, we as radio hosts don't necessarily operate from a place of superior standing. Radio host Clay Travis was on CNN this past Friday, just going by, talking about the ESPN reporter who said that Trump was a white supremacist. He got booted off the show because he wouldn't shut up about breasts. Listen to this.
I believe completely in the First Amendment and in boobs. Those are the only two things I believe 100% in this country. And by the way, Jamel has absolutely nothing to do with her background at all. Did you notice that? He went straight to that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I did go straight to that.
Why would you even say that live on national television and with a female host?
I say it live on the radio all the time because it's true, and that's what I do. Because I like boobs and the First Amendment, which is exactly what I said.
I'm sorry.
And to have her anatomy brought up, to have anyone's anatomy brought up in this conversation.
I'm done. This is done. This is conversation over. Yanking mics. Bye. See ya. That was entirely inappropriate, and it just took me. Forgive me that it took me a second. It's like live television happens, and you think you hear something, but you're not entirely sure, and then you realize it happened. So I apologize.
Now, do you think?
Why didn't she spar with him? I mean, they both sucked in that instance.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what it is? Look, this guy, I guess he's sort of like a radio host of some sort. I don't know what station he's on, and but he's not in his world. And he went and said something that probably gets a yuck every once in a while. He had.
I mean, you say that on this show. Would you say that on CNN?
That I believe in the First Amendment and boobs?
Yeah.
You got to know how to read a room.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I mean, look, it depends. I'm not someone to court controversy. I'm not someone to try and do something that will make people flip the hell out and raise my profile through it. That's not my MO. That's not a thing that I ever do. Do I make reference to that sort of thing on my show, talking to my people that I'm comfortable with? Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you but if you're actually trying to do something, if you're actually trying to achieve something, meaningful dialogue that moves the ball of humanity further down the field, as we say, then you can't just assume that, it's your world and everybody else is in it. I'm sure he says that on his radio show all the time, but you're not on your radio show. You're in someone else's house. When I first started in radio, I was on 2 different stations. My first sort of ever gigs started on the same day. One was 94.5 The Buzz, Houston's Rockin' Alternative in Houston, Texas, where I'm still on. The other one was on Octane, the hard rock station on Sirius XM. And at the time, they liked it on Sirius XM if you dropped an F-bomb once an hour, right? They liked it if you dropped an F-bomb once an hour or swore in some way, because the idea was they wanted people to know that you're just talking in a personable way. They're like, don't go crazy with it, but just talk how you would normally talk. And when people hear that, they go, I'm getting something that you wouldn't usually get on normal radio. This is part of the reason why I'm paying the $9 a month or whatever it was at the time. And I remember talking to a buddy of mine that did the same thing and had done for a very, very long time, had ridden the line between terrestrial and satellite radio. And I was like, on these 2 stations, and this is when I was a new jack just starting out, I'm talking in and out of the same songs. And do you ever worry when you're talking in and out of the same songs, one on terrestrial, one on satellite, that you're going to mess up and drop an F-bomb or curse or something like that? He was like, no. Why would you think that you would do that? I was like, well, it's, similar situation. Like this guy, he was in a similar situation. He was on a TV show. He's used to doing his radio show. He didn't adjust at all, I don't think. Or maybe he was just, like I said, courting controversy. But my friend had the best example of how and why you recognize that you're in a different place, even though you're doing the same thing. He was like, you'd never go over to your girlfriend's house for dinner and say to her mom after she cooked for you, this is great effing chicken. And so you bear that in mind. When you're on this station, you don't drop the F-bomb because you know where the hell you are and what you're doing. It's part of being a professional. So I don't know. I think that's a snappy thing that probably got him some pats on the back from his loyal listeners in the past, and it didn't go over too well on CNN. I think he thought he'd be controversial and funny, and it just failed to land. And you're right, Funkhouser, they were both bad.
Yep.
She didn't handle it well. He didn't handle it well. And I don't know.
We better get to the thing because we only have a couple minutes.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, the bottom line is, you gotta apparently identify yourself as non-fascist if you want to avoid being punched. This is a life lesson in why we don't go around punching Nazis, or why we apparently have to walk around identifying ourselves as visibly non-fascist. University of Texas at Austin. Person assaulted by pro-immigration protester. He wasn't a Nazi. He wasn't a fascist. He wasn't part of the alt-right. He wasn't a counter-protester. He wasn't on any side, as a matter of fact. He was a college journalist, and he was just doing his gig, interviewing people, looking to start a career in this world of media and journalism that we inhabit, Funkhouser. And what did he get? He got clocked for it. Look, this is a guy called Chase Karakostas. He writes for a magazine or an online publication called The Daily Texan. And here's the thing. He didn't hold any unpopular political leanings. He was just there trying to write a story, collecting facts, covering a protest against SB 4, which is a new Texas law that undercuts sanctuary cities by forcing local police to cooperate with the Department of Homeland Security in detaining and deporting immigrants. He was interviewing a bystander when a protester approached him. This is from the Student Press Law Center. A protester approached him, aggressively hitting his phone into his head, slicing open his eyebrow. He said it was really random. He said he was surprised, given that the protest was otherwise peaceful. He said, I've been to protests that were a lot more violent and a lot angrier, where lots of people had been arrested, but this one was pretty small by comparison. He said that He identified his assailant to police using videos he'd recorded and then headed to the University Health Service urgent care clinic where he got a bunch of stitches in his face. He was just kind of hanging out. Now, the guy that organized the entire protest, rather than apologize, the folks that were protesting blamed him for not being a visible non-fascist. Yep. He was a reporter doing his job, trying to come up with some facts that he could put into his college news publication, gets clocked in the face, and apparently, somehow, it's his fault. Get the hell along! Stop being so stupid! Your anger doesn't make you more of a valid human being. Open your eyes, open your ears, and shut your freaking mouth!